Luke and Tom here with the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel, and we're going to teach you how to build a fire. Not only that, we're going to show you different types of fire starters, we're going to show you some fire safety tips, and I'm going to teach you how to build a one-match fire in any type of weather condition. There are going to be tips and tricks for both the beginner and the seasoned outdoorsman. Well, I'm probably the best place you could ever imagine for gathering campfire wood. So with that, let me talk to you about the three types of campfire wood. There's tinder, kindling, and fuel. Okay, tinder is the small stuff. It's the little fine stuff that you light right after you light your match. The kindling is the medium-sized stuff that you use to grow your fire to the desired size. And the stuff I call fuel is the big stuff. It's the logs that you use to maintain the fire, keep it going. By far the most common rookie mistake when building a campfire is not gathering enough wood. When you light that match, you want to have everything you need right there, ready to go. You don't want to have to leave your fire unattended to run off into the woods and find more wood. So get everything ready, get it ready to go, then light your match. In order to know how much wood you're going to need for your campfire, here's some things that you should know. An average normal campfire typically burns about 4 to 6 logs at any given time. Additionally, a log loses about 1 inch of radius for every hour of burning. All right, so let me give you an example. This log is 3 inches across right here. So after about 1 hour, you'll lose about 1 inch off the surface area of the log. So after about 1 hour in the fire, this is a piece of charcoal about that big. A charred log about that big is all that's going to be left. That leaves about 1/2 inch there. So this log will be completely gone in about an hour and a half, give or take. Now, of course, how hot the fire is, the type of wood you have, whether it's a hardwood versus a softwood, whether it's dry versus green, that'll all affect the time. But rough estimate, about 1 inch per hour is what you're going to lose. So if you want a campfire that's going to last 6 hours, that's 360 minutes, okay? One of these logs lasts 90 minutes. So you need 4 of these logs to last 6 hours on a 1 log fire. If you want a 5 log fire, then you're gonna need 20 of these, okay? So just for the fuel for your fire, you'll need 20 logs just like this for 6 hours of campfire cooking, s'mores, sitting around the fire. If you don't have logs with you, go out and find them. This log here is about 3 inches in diameter, so that's about an hour and a half of burn time right there. And just chop this sucker up into sections, and you've got several hours of burning. If you come across wood like this, I believe this is treated lumber. Okay, it's treated with a chemical to keep it from rotting. This is stuff used in decks and a lot of exterior building. Don't use treated or painted wood as fuel in your fire or kindling in your fire, because the chemicals, when they burn, can be very toxic. So if you find treated wood, leave it alone. I have 7 logs that are averaging about 3 inches in diameter, so about an hour and a half for each log, building about a 4 or 5 log fire. So I have roughly 3 hours of burn time, more than double what I probably need today. Okay, let's talk about kindling. Kindling is the medium-sized fuel that helps grow your fire. It takes it from the tinder all the way up to the logs and the roaring fire that we like to sit by. So having kindling that's different sizes is really important. You want to start off with little tiny stuff about the thickness of a toothpick and work your way up to things about 1 inch in diameter or even bigger. The length of the kindling doesn't really matter. It's the diameter of the kindling and the condition of the kindling that's important. When you're getting kindling, you want it to be dry, you want it to be very dead, and ideally you'd like it to be like a spruce or a pine tree. Anything that has needles instead of leaves generally burns really well when it's dry and dead. Dry, dead kindling will snap and break apart pretty easily. Green kindling doesn't like to do that. The easier and crisper it snaps, the better the kindling. Additionally, wood can be too dead. If it's crumbly and it's falling apart like this, it's too decayed. And it usually doesn't make very good kindling because it holds moisture inside. You can feel it, and it's kind of wet. It's like a sponge. So if it comes apart in your hand, it's not very good kindling. When you go camping in national or state parks, you'll often find that there's rules against gathering your own firewood. In that situation, when you need kindling and tinder, you can make it from your own logs. Simply take your logs and split them into smaller pieces until you get the nice variety of different size kindling. When you're chopping kindling, you want to make sure not to cut your fingers off. So put the axe on a small piece and beat it that way. Keep your fingers safe. If you have a log you want to break up and you don't have a saw or axe handy, don't worry. Just find 2 trees that are close together and you can break them. That'll also do it. There you go. Okay, I've got enough kindling, but now I want to sort it and segregate it out into about 6 different piles, sorted by sizes. And I want everything from the little tiny stuff all the way up to the big fuel. I want to have it all piled up nice and easy to get to when I light the match. So if you get in this habit of doing this and doing it right, you'll be able to build one-match fires in all sorts of conditions, no matter how nasty it gets. As you're sorting this wood, you're not sorting it by length, you're sorting it by diameter. You want to make sure everything's short enough to fit into your fire pit. Strictly speaking, this is probably more kindling than I need, but you know, it's better to overkill it and have leftovers than underdo it and have to start all over again. And while I don't have it in separate distinct piles, you can see it kind of goes from the big stuff down to the little tiny stuff. Okay, let's talk about tinder. Tinder is the first thing you light when you're starting a fire. Whether it's a match, a lighter, or flint and steel, or you're using a bow, or you know, whatever it is. My personal favorite tinder is crumpled up newspaper, hands down. I love this stuff. Cardboard works really well, but there's lots of tinders available. Some people swear by dryer lint, or they take cotton balls soaked in Vaseline. Some people like to use large quantities of lighter fluid. Wood shavings is another type of tinder that I really like, because no matter where you are, as long as you have a knife or a sharp axe, you can make it. Often you'll see rookies try to use dry leaves as tinder, and most dry leaves do not work very well as tinder at all. It just kind of smolders and it doesn't actually catch fire and produce a lot of heat. So as you can see, the paper lit on fire, the easiest, the fastest, and burned the brightest. The wood shavings are doing a very decent second place, and the cardboard's not doing bad. It's kind of more of a slow burn. Wood leaves just don't really do much. They have a hard time keeping a flame. See, look at that. You can get them going, but they just go out so easy. You'll end up wasting a lot of matches trying to get it started. So forget the leaves, cardboard, paper, wood shavings, those work best. Okay, when you build the campfire, you want to make sure you do it in a safe spot. The ideal situation is to only build campfires in designated fire pits. But if you're in a situation where you don't have those, you have to make your own. You want at least a minimum of 12 feet of cleared ground. There's nothing burnable within 12 feet. Bigger would be better. Now, if you're in a situation where there's extremely dry and dangerous conditions, or if you're burning wood that throws a lot of sparks, or if you're going to be building a big fire, you're gonna need a better spot than what I have here. But for today, for the small little fire we're gonna be demonstrating, this will be all right. All right, so there we go. We got this nice little channel where cold air can come in, get ignited with the fire, and then the hot air comes up. If you're ever gonna be playing with fire, make sure you have something to put the fire out close at hand. Either a fire extinguisher or a 5-gallon bucket of water or even a bucket of sand. Things can get out of hand really quick. You wanna make sure you're prepared if they do. What I have here is some wood shavings for tinder and my really small kindling piled on top, and it's not in any sort of neat and organized manner, it's just a big healthy pile. Fire and heat always rises, so you want to put the stuff you're going to light, the tinder, on the very bottom of the pile so that the heat from the tinder comes up and lights the kindling on fire. Once you get everything ready and built, it should only take one match.
Daddy?
There we go.
Oh.
This box is old. All right, let's get in there. When a fire is smoking a lot like this, it means it's being smothered. It's not getting enough oxygen. So I like to take my plate and just give it a good fan.
It's a marshmallow.
See, once you get it a little bit of oxygen, it stops smoking. Now, you can use a dinner plate to fan it.
Or use your wind.
Yeah, you can use your breath. I even have a lid to a Tupperware bin that I keep all my camping stuff in, and it works great for fanning fires. Okay, once the fire takes, start adding bigger stuff. And see, it's starting to smoke again because I'm putting a little too much on there. It's not getting enough oxygen, so just give it a little fanning. Actually, it'd be better if I did it over here by the hole I built.
That just burns up.
Yeah, we're gonna add the big stuff. You can see how there's water bubbling out of the wood. That's sap that's boiling and being forced out of the pores because the wood is still green. Green wood means it still has sap in it. If you buy seasoned firewood, that's firewood that's been dried, and it won't do that as much. If you bunch the logs up too close together, you won't get enough oxygen and the fire will start to smoke. If you spread the logs out too far apart, they won't share each other's heat and the fire will die. As the fire consumes fuel, the shape of the fire and the gaps in between the logs changes, so you're constantly adjusting the logs and moving them closer together. Having a big roaring fire with lots of flame is great when you're hanging around and talking and keeping warm with a group. In a survival situation, however, a small fire that you can get close to is often a lot more practical. It takes less energy to build and it'll keep you warmer. If you're cooking, having a fire with lots of burned out coals, so it's just mostly coals and very little flame, is usually the ideal fire for cooking.
Ooh, I'm ready.
Oh, I think you lost your marshmallow. Hard to beat a roasted marshmallow. When you're putting out a campfire with a bucket of water, there's two things to remember. First off, when you dump water on the fire, there'll be a big plume of hot ash and hot steam. So if you're leaning over the fire, you're gonna get a face full of hot steam and burn yourself. Secondly, when you drizzle the water on, you wanna saturate everything, the wood, the ashes, and mix it all up until there's no more smoke, no more steam, and you can't feel any more heat coming from the ashes. If you're not thorough, the fire will reignite. So it looks like I put the fire out. Feels relatively cool, but it's a trick. You gotta really dump that water on there and mix it all up, because deep inside, there's burning embers on the undersides of these logs, and as soon as that water's evaporated, flames are gonna come back. Well, sure enough, this fire came back to life. So we're gonna show you how to put it out properly. Instead of dumping a whole bunch, kind of sprinkle it along. Okay, then spread out the logs and turn over the logs and start stirring up the coals and get all that water mixed in underneath. Well, when you actually sprinkle the water on and stir up the coals and take down and disassemble the fire, you can more thoroughly put out the fire with a third the water. Well, I told you guys that I'd teach you how to build a one-match fire in even the worst conditions, and it looks like we're gonna get a chance to do just that, because it's starting to rain. All right, let's get our jackets on. We got a real storm coming, Tom.
The worse your conditions, the more kindling you're going to need. In this situation, I'm using 2 to 3 times the normal amount, especially with the fine stuff. And being organized and prepared is even more important. Additionally, you're going to need a shelter to protect your match from being put out immediately by the rain. So this lid is what I'm using right now. Wood shavings are a great tinder in wet conditions because you can shave off the wet wood and get down to the dry shavings. Having 100% dry tinder is absolutely vital, so if you can't make tinder in a dry environment, keep your matches and tinder in a waterproof bag until you're 100% ready to go. Then pile as much of your finest kindling on top of the bag as you can manage, and try to build a little bit of a shelter and protection. Also, dig a trench to make sure that the water doesn't pile up in the bottom of your fire pit, because that'll cause you real problems. Then I open the bag and strike the match and light the tinder inside the bag and let the fire consume the bag. Then start blowing and fanning the flames as aggressively as you can and keep piling on as much kindling as you can. Big vertical piles of kindling act as a roof over your fire and also gives the heat of the flames a chance to dry out the kindling. Of course, this smothers the fire, so you've got to fan it as much as you can to keep it from going out. Don't let the fire hollow out your pile, so keep shoving more wood inside and compressing it down, and then take the big logs and use them to make a little bit of a roof to keep the rain from putting out your fire. Then keep fanning those flames until those logs catch on fire.
Whew! Didn't say it was going to be easy, but that's how you build a one-match fire in even the worst conditions. Just double and triple the amount of tinder you use, double and triple the amount of kindling you use, and put a lot of elbow grease into fanning those flames. Well, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos from the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel, don't forget to click subscribe. We put out new videos every week. Feels nice.